16,215. That is the average number of words we speak every day. We talk to each other, we relate with each other, we create, we love each other, we fight with each other. It is how we know each other. It is how we know ourselves. It is how we convince each other to do things. It is how we objectify everything in the world. It is everything. So the question is, how are you using your 16,215 words? Are you asking permission? Sitting in a meeting and saying, do you mind if? Or I just want to check in and see. Are you using them reflexively, such as in the automatic reflexive apologizing? You know, sorry, I'm sorry, oh so sorry, throughout your day. Are you using your words to qualify or soften what you have to say? Things like, well, I'm no expert in this, but, or, I know you all have been doing this a really long time, but. Are you using your words to empower and express confidence? Saying things like, thanks for reinforcing my idea, or I look forward to hearing your thoughts on that. Are you using them to contribute and solve problems, coming from a stance of, let's try this approach? Are you speaking straight? No qualifier, saying things just how they are. I disagree with that. How we speak directly relates to the state of women's inequality. Did you know 60% of all advanced degrees are held by women? Yet women hold less than 5% of Fortune 500 CEO positions. And in the executive suite, our roles have actually dropped from 23 to 21% in the last year alone. And look at the world. The world continues to have significant problems. We need more representation by women and the powerful ideas we hold to solve the complex problems we are having. And women's concerns are not met when the only voices heard and points of view considered are those of men. If we continue operating the way that we have, the World Economic Forum predicts it will be 217 years before we reach gender equity. Now that is a problem. It's a problem for me and it's a problem for you. Companies, society, and the world will miss out on all that is possible with women being innovators, influencers, and creative problem solvers. So you might wonder, well, why is this happening? I say 16,215 words. See, when I look at this issue, I look back in my own life. I grew up during the women's movement. I had a strong mom who was a registered nurse who stayed home for 13 years to raise 5 children. Many women stayed home in that era. Then I entered the workforce like my mom and my sister as a registered nurse. And I spent the first 21 years of my career growing in power as a nurse and accomplishing a lot. I was responsible for lots of firsts in the hospital and in the state, and use of cutting-edge techniques. And I was the charge nurse, the head nurse. And I worked in the area of intensive care, high pressure, high stakes. First, in the emergency room. and then many, many years in the neonatal intensive care with teeny preemies where life was at stake. Our language was the language of hurry up. We said it like it was. We asked for and demanded things of each other straight. There were no time for niceties. It was, get this stat, hurry up, help, the baby's crashing. There were no hurt feelings. There were no being polite. There were no being careful. There simply was save lives. Then I changed careers. And I entered the world of business, and I was shocked. Suddenly, I was in this foreign world where women were uber polite, permission asking, apologetic, not straight about what they had to say. They couch their views and tiptoe around conflict, afraid they're going to be labeled as a bitch or aggressive or too ambitious. Smart, savvy women diminishing their own power, not contributing at the level they could, not getting the positions or the money that they wanted and deserved. And I even saw women being nasty to each other, not supporting each other, presumably because there were few positions that they got competitive and sometimes even mean. I knew something else was possible. You see, in business, life is at stake too. It is a different type of life at stake. It may not have the immediacy and the emergency quality to it that it did when I was a nurse, but make no mistake, life is altered every day by what we do and don't do in business. What we say alters life. Yet, women are held back. The glass ceiling is firmly in place. Brilliant, accomplished women held back. So when I saw this, I was dumbfounded. I wondered, why are women's speech patterns so hesitant and apologetic and not projecting the brilliance and the power and the confidence they had? So I did research. My research revealed, and this may not be a surprise, the language of business is patriarchal. Now, when I think about it, it makes perfect sense. Women did not start entering the workforce in large numbers until 1978, a mere 40 years ago. And we did what you would expect us to do. We adapted. We adapted our communication style to fit into the already existing style in business, which is patriarchal. So primarily, women do one of two things. We either adopt a command and control kind of male-centric style, but then we are often labeled as pushy or aggressive, or we soften our communication style so we are accepted. But then we leave people with the impression that we are weak, lack confidence, easy to pass over, ignore, or manipulate. Now, we want to be heard. We want positions of power and influence. We want to be on equal footing. We want a seat at the table. And yet, according to the latest research, our progress has stalled, according to the McKinsey study, despite the research. Research shows that when women are in upper management, companies do better. For example, Joe Corella, who is the assistant dean at the University of Arizona's Eller College of Management, said, "We did our own analysis of Fortune 500 companies and found that when women are in upper management, companies experience what we call an innovation intensity and produce more patents by an average of 20% more than when a male is in a similar leadership position." Isn't that stunning? Additionally, the global leadership forecast in 2014-2015 concluded that when you have gender diversity in your leadership pool, you have greater diversity of thought, which in turn leads to improved problem solving and greater business benefits. It is our time. It is time for us to use our language to fully express our brilliance and take our rightful places in the world. Now remember, for centuries, women did not have the political and human rights to protect us if we spoke up or angered and threatened those around us. So naturally, we learned to soften our communication style. Let's retire that. We don't need those old speech patterns with us. Give up worrying about using language to make men comfortable or avoid being labeled. It is time for us to stop fitting our language into the patriarchal structure in business and create our own fully expressed voice. Let's discover what is a woman's fully expressed voice and language. Now be patient. This will take time. You may create waves in the current culture with your language. It's okay. Create them. Give up needing to be liked. That is not the goal. You are working in service of something so much bigger than yourselves, and the future and future generations are counting on you and me. Think about it. If we had worried about being liked in the hospital, somebody could have died. So instead, make the difference you're here to make. Get the positions you want. Get paid what you're worth. Start paying attention, interrupting yourself, correcting yourself, and use your language to fully express your brilliance. Instead of, "I'm not sure, but if you don't mind," say, "I'm confident that." Instead of, "Do you think it would be possible to?" say, "I suggest that we do." Instead of, "I actually think this might be right," say, "Here is the way to approach this." We have the opportunity to dip into the well of 16,215 words every day. Do not take that lightly. Use your words to unleash your brilliance and power to the world and take your place at whatever table you desire, including the head of the table. It is completely up to us to use our language to change the world. Thank you.